Okay, so here we have another shape, and it looks like they've given us very limited information here. They've only really written two things on this shape. So we've got this side here is 5 millimeters, but what they have also shown us is these little markings, which mean that all these sides with this marking are equal. So these are all 5 millimeter sides, okay? And same here, these are all 6 millimeter sides, the ones with this marking. So we actually have quite a lot of sides here. Now, how are we going to break this shape up? We can cut it lots of different ways. We can slice it across here, and then we just need to find the area of this rectangle and the area of this square. And we can see it's a square because all the sides are the same. And that's probably the best way to do it, because then we've only got two shapes that we need to find the area of. If we cut it here, well, we still need to cut it again. So we'll need to cut it into 3 shapes, and that might take a little bit longer. So I think we cut it here so that we only need to find 2 shapes, or the area of 2 shapes. So let's cut it along there, and then we need to find the area of this square and the area of this rectangle. So the area of this square, that's pretty easy, right? If all the sides are 6 millimeters, well, the way that we find the area of that square is we just say 6 squared, or 6 times 6. It's the same as a rectangle, it's the length times the width, but in this case, the length and the width are both 6. So 6 times 6 gives us 36 millimeters squared. That's our area for this square. So we're halfway there. Now we just need to find the area of this rectangle and add them together. So the area of this rectangle is going to be the length times the width, because that's the formula for finding the area of a rectangle. And we can see that we've got one of those values. This is going to be either the length or the width over here, 5 millimeters. But we also need to find this side length here. We need both sides in the rectangle. So how are we going to work out the length of this side? Well, I'm going to come across and look at my sides that are parallel to it. So I've got this side here and these 2 sides here. And I know that this rectangle is made up of this length here, which is going to be the same as this length. Then from there to here, so that's that length there, that's the same as this length because it's opposite and parallel to this side if I went from this point to this point. And then this length here as well, which is the same as this length. So if I add up this length plus this length plus this length, well, they're just the opposite sides of the shape. They're going to give me this length plus this length plus this length, which is exactly what we want to find. So what are these lengths? This is 5 millimeters because it's got the same marking as 5 millimeters over here. This is also 5 millimeters because it's got the same marking. And this one is 6 millimeters. So all I need to do is add up 5 plus 6 plus 5. And that gives me my length here. 5 plus 6 plus 5. So my length is 16 millimeters. And then I can find the area of this rectangle. It's quite easy. It's just 5 times 16. Length times width. So 5 times 16 gives me 80. And make sure you're writing these areas down as you go. Otherwise, you're going to forget what this area was. So if we remember, if we wrote it down, this area of the square was 36 square millimeters, and this area of the rectangle was 80 square millimeters. So if we want to find the total area of the shape, we just need to do 80 plus 36, which is 116 square millimeters. Okay, same thing here. We can divide this shape into 2 rectangles. You can slice it this way if you like, or you can slice it this way. It's up to you. Let's just slice it this way. That's kind of what we're used to, but it's up to you. So we've now got a rectangle here, this long skinny rectangle, and we've got this shorter rectangle here that finishes here. We need to find the area of this long skinny one. Well, that's easy. We've got both sides. We've got the length and the width here. So it's just going to be 3 times 12. So this area of the long skinny rectangle is just going to be 3 times 12, which is 36 millimeters squared. And now we just need to find the area of this other rectangle, and then we add them together and we can find the total area. So remember this rectangle, we sliced it here, so it stops here. So this 11 millimeters, that's not actually a side length in our rectangle, okay? That's the total length up here. But our rectangle stops here. So we need to find just this length here, this length of the rectangle, which is the same as this length here. And the way we can do that is, well, if I know this total length is 11 millimeters, and I just want from here to here, I want it to stop here, well then all I need to do is just subtract this extra little bit here, and then I'll end up with my length of the rectangle. So I just need to subtract this little length here from 11 millimeters. Now what's this length? Well, it's opposite this side here, so it must be 3 millimeters. Okay, it's the opposite side of the rectangle to this side. So if this is 3 millimeters, I know 11, our total length here, minus that 3 millimeters, that's going to give me this remaining length here, which is the length we're looking for. That's the length of our rectangle when we sliced it here. So 11 minus 3, that gives me 8. So I know that this length of our rectangle is 8. This length of our rectangle here is 8. And now I've got my 2 dimensions for the rectangle. I can find the area. It's just going to be the length of 8 times the width of 5. So 8 times 5 gives me 40 millimeters squared. Now I've got my 2 areas. I just need to add them together. So if we remember, we found the area of this skinny rectangle. It was 36 millimeters squared. And we found the area of this fat rectangle here, which was 40 millimeters squared. So our total area is just 36 plus 40, which gives us 76 millimeters squared. Okay, so we've got another composite shape here. We can slice it lots of different ways as usual. We could slice it here and here, and then we'd end up with 3 shapes. We've got one little shape here, one here, and one here. Or we could slice it across here, and then we end up with only 2 shapes. So I'm always going to choose the option with less shapes to find the area of, because I think that's going to save me a bit of time if I choose 2 shapes rather than 3 shapes. So I'm going to slice it along here. And then I'll end up with this long skinny rectangle here. And my second shape is going to be this larger rectangle here. It looks almost like a square. So I've sliced it along here. I can find the area of this long rectangle pretty easily because the area of a rectangle is just length times width. And I've got the length of my long rectangle. It's 25 centimeters. And I've got the width here, which is 4 centimeters. So 25 times 4, that's 100 square centimeters. That's just going to be the area of that long skinny rectangle at the top. So I'll write that down, 100 square centimeters for this shape here. And I need to find the total area, so I also need to find the area of this shape. And this is another rectangle. I've got one of the sides here, which is 13 centimeters, but I also need this side here. So how am I going to work out what this side is? Well, remember we drew a line here. So if I want to work out this side here, that's the same as working out this side up here because they're going to be opposite sides in this rectangle. And I can see some information about sides that are parallel to that line here. So if I want to work out this line or this length here, and I can see that this total length up here is 25 centimeters, and I can see that this length is 7 centimeters, and this length over here is also 7 centimeters because it's got matching markings. Well, if I want to find this part here, all I need to do is subtract 7 centimeters and another 7 centimeters, so I need to subtract 14 centimeters from our total length, and that's going to leave me with this leftover part here. Because you can see, if I look at this 25 centimeter line, that's made up of 7 centimeters here. So this is going to be 7 centimeter length here. Then it's going to be our length that we want to find. So from that 7 centimeter mark here, then we've got our length. This is the length that we want to find here, from here to here. So that ends there. And then it's got another 7 centimeters here, from that point to the end of the shape. So from this point to the end, well, we know that's 7 centimeters because it's got the same marking here. So this 25 centimeters, that's made up of 7 centimeters plus the length that we're trying to find, plus another 7 centimeters. So if we want to find the length that we're trying to find, well, we just need to subtract these two 7 centimeters from our 25 centimeter length, and then we'll be left with this unknown bit in the middle, which is what we want, because that unknown bit is what makes up our side length of our rectangle. So 25 minus 7 minus another 7, or 25 minus 14, gives us 11 centimeters here. So this unknown length in the middle, that's 11 centimeters. It has to be. And that makes sense because then we've got 7 centimeters plus 11 centimeters plus another 7 centimeters. And that should add up to 25, and it does. So we know that our length of our rectangle here is 11 centimeters. Okay, so we can find the area of the rectangle. We know one side is 13 and we know one side is 11. So our area is just going to be 13 times 11, which is 143 square centimeters. So remember this shape up here, this long skinny rectangle, that was 100 square centimeters. And we just worked out that the area of this rectangle is 143 square centimeters. So our total area for the shape is just going to be 100 plus 143. So it's 243 square centimeters. And it was a little tricky. We had to work out this unknown length here for the rectangle. And the way we did that was we said, well, this long length, that has to be made up of 7 centimeters, another 7 centimeters, and then this unknown length here in the middle, which is what we're trying to find. So we said, okay, 25, let's subtract this section here, subtract this section, and we'll just be left with the part that we want in the middle.